The disappearance. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Consortium buzzed with the usual cacophony of over 300 species communicating in their native tongues, translated seamlessly through neural interfaces. The massive crystalline dome overhead captured the light of 3 suns, refracting it into patterns that danced across the polished stone floor. At the center of this chaos stood Supreme Arbiter Zixvoral of the Mithridian Collective, his 12 appendages raised for silence. "The assembly will come to order." Zixvoral's voice resonated through the neural translators of all present. "We have reports from the outer systems that require immediate attention." The noise gradually subsided as representatives settled into their environmentally customized seats. The Arbiter's compound eyes swept across the gathering, noting the empty section where the human delegation typically sat. For the 3rd consecutive cycle, the human representatives are absent, Zixvoral noted with the dismissive flick of a tendril that sent ripples of amusement through the assembly. "We shall proceed without them, as we have for millennia before their arrival." Ambassador Thelos of the Arcturian Syndicate, a being composed of luminous gas contained within an ornate exoskeleton, pulsed with blue light as she spoke. "Supreme Arbiter, perhaps we should address the human absence more directly. Our intelligence suggests this is not merely negligence, but a coordinated withdrawal." "Withdrawal?" The Arbiter's voice carried artificial surprise. "The humans are young and temperamental. They've likely taken offense at some perceived slight and are making one of their dramatic statements. They'll return when their emotional outburst has run its course." Laughter rippled through the assembly, particularly loud from the ancient species who had watched countless civilizations rise and fall over millions of years. Humans had only achieved faster than light travel 3 centuries ago, barely a moment in cosmic time. "With respect, Arbiter," continued Thelos, her light dimming to a serious cobalt, "our reports indicate this is more significant. Every human outpost, colony, and vessel has disappeared from Consortium space. Their homeworld, Sol 3, has erected energy barriers that deflect all communication and approach attempts." The Arbiter's 12 appendages rippled with irritation. "Ambassador, the humans comprise less than 0.01% of Consortium economic activity and occupy a mere 17 systems. While their absence is noted, it hardly constitutes an emergency." From the back of the chamber came a new voice, low and gravelly. "The Arbiter is mistaken." All eyes turned to Elder Krell of the Dothkar Imperium, one of the oldest beings in the assembly. The reptilian elder rarely spoke, and when he did, even the Arbiter listened. "The humans may appear insignificant by our metrics," Krell continued, his ancient scales gleaming under the refracted light, "but their influence extends far beyond their numbers. Their departure is more concerning than we may realize." "Elaborate, Elder Krell," commanded the Arbiter, unable to dismiss the words of a being whose civilization had achieved space travel when most species present were still evolving opposable thumbs. "The humans possess a unique cognitive architecture," Krell explained. "Their neural pathways form connections we find unpredictable. While we perfect single technologies over millennia, they create thousands of imperfect solutions and somehow forge connections between them that we overlook. Their innovations may seem crude, but they permeate our society more deeply than this assembly acknowledges." The chamber remained silent, many delegates uncomfortable with this assessment. The Mithridian Arbiter finally responded, "Even if true, Elder Krell, the Consortium has existed for 50,000 years. We will adapt to the absence of one species, however innovative." The matter was officially tabled, and the assembly moved to other concerns. But throughout the following cycles, Elder Krell's words would return to haunt them all. Chief Engineer Nixtal hovered anxiously over the central control node of Nexus Station, the massive hub that coordinated quantum communications across 17 sectors of Consortium space. Her silvery skin reflected the increasingly erratic pulses of the station's core. "Status report," she demanded of her team. A junior engineer, his 3 eyes blinking nervously, responded, "The degradation is accelerating, Chief." Quantum coherence is dropping below 70% in sectors 8 through 15. That's impossible, Nick Stoll muttered. The quantum relays are self-stabilizing. They've operated flawlessly for decades. Another engineer spoke up. Chief, I've identified a pattern. The degradation began precisely at the coordinates of former human outposts and is spreading outward. Nick Stoll's antennae stiffened. Are you suggesting sabotage? Not necessarily, the engineer replied. The human-designed components appear to require regular maintenance from, well, humans. Their quantum calibration techniques involve intuitive adjustments our systems can't replicate. Nick Stoll turned to stare at the central holographic display, showing the spreading communication failures. Why were we dependent on human maintenance crews? The consortium maintains technological sovereignty across all critical systems. The junior engineer looked uncomfortable. The human methods were empirical rather than theoretical. They could feel the correct calibrations in ways our instruments couldn't measure. We never fully understood how they did it. Nick Stoll's perfect memory recalled the installation of the quantum network 15 years earlier. The humans had offered their technology at a fraction of the cost of the Mithridian alternative, promising greater efficiency and range. The consortium had conducted thorough inspections, but found nothing concerning. Just typically elegant human solutions that somehow worked despite theoretical impossibilities. Contact the Human Engineering Corps immediately, she ordered. Chief, the junior engineer said hesitantly, they're gone. All of them. The human exodus included every technician, engineer, and scientist they had in consortium space. For the first time in her distinguished career, Nick Stoll felt something approaching fear. The quantum communication network connected everything in consortium space: trade, governance, defense, medicine. Its degradation would be catastrophic. Begin emergency protocols, she ordered, and prepare a report for the assembly. They need to understand what we're facing. On the medical world of Helix Prime, Dr. Tasven stared in disbelief at the results displayed before him. The adaptive nanites that had revolutionized medicine throughout the consortium were failing systematically across all major treatment centers. Run the diagnostic again, he ordered his assistant. This is the 5th diagnostic, doctor, the assistant replied, her feathered crest drooping with exhaustion. The results are consistent. The nanite degradation rate has increased to 3.7% per day. At this rate, we'll lose all therapeutic function within 30 days. Tasven's 3 hearts beat arrhythmically with stress. The adaptive nanites treated over 4,000 previously incurable conditions across all consortium species. Their failure would mean death for billions. The replacement batches from production, he asked, all showing the same degradation pattern. The nanites require regular genetic algorithm updates from the human medical servers. Without those updates, they're gradually losing their adaptive capabilities. Then we recreate the algorithms, Tasven stated firmly. His assistant's expression fell further. We've been trying. The humans used a form of recursive evolutionary coding that, well, our best AI systems can't replicate it. The nanites were designed to learn and adapt like living organisms, using principles derived from human neural patterns. But we approved this technology, Tasven protested. The Consortium Medical Authority certified it as sovereign and independent. We certified what we understood, the assistant admitted. The humans provided all their research, but much of their intuitive coding remained opaque. They called it artistic interpretation in the genetic sequencing. Tasven sank into his chair, suddenly aware of the magnitude of what they faced. Contact the assembly. This is no longer a medical issue. It's an existential threat to the consortium. Within 6 months of the human departure, the Galactic Consortium faced multiple systemic failures across its vast empire. The quantum communication network had degraded to 30% efficiency, leaving entire sectors isolated. The medical nanite crisis had overwhelmed healthcare systems as treatments failed and dormant diseases reemerged. Agricultural systems optimized with human bioengineering techniques produced increasingly diminished yields. Even the artificial gravity generators that stabilized everything from personal transporters to massive space habitats began exhibiting unpredictable fluctuations. The Grand Assembly Hall, once a showcase of consortium power and unity, now felt like a war room. The crystalline dome had been darkened to conserve energy, and many delegates attended via holographic projection to avoid increasingly dangerous space travel. Supreme Arbiter Zixforal no longer stood with 12 proudly raised appendages. Several hung limply, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "The Assembly will hear the report from the Emergency Response Collective," he announced, his once authoritative voice now strained. Science Director Vela Quintus, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid form, rose to address the Assembly. "The situation continues to deteriorate beyond our ability to mitigate. We have identified 1,342 critical systems that incorporated human innovation. Of these, 86% are now exhibiting failure patterns we cannot effectively address." "How is this possible?" demanded an exasperated representative from the Cygnus block. "How did we become so dependent on a single species without realizing it?" Elder Krell of the Dothkar shifted his ancient body forward. "Because we were too proud to recognize what was happening. The humans never forced their technology upon us. We adopted it willingly because it worked better than our own. They solved problems intuitively that we had struggled with for millennia." "But we are the consortium," protested another delegate. "We comprise the oldest, most advanced civilizations in the galaxy." "Advanced, yes," agreed Elder Krell. "But advancement and innovation are not synonymous. We perfected technologies discovered millions of years ago. The humans created new paths we never imagined." The Assembly fell silent as this uncomfortable truth settled over them. Ambassador Thelos pulsed with determination as she addressed the gathered representatives. "We must find the humans, not to punish them. They've broken no laws by leaving, but to understand why they departed and what might convince them to return." The Arbiter's appendages twisted with reluctance. "The humans have made their position clear by their actions. They've withdrawn from consortium space entirely." "With respect, Arbiter," Thelos persisted, "we haven't even attempted meaningful contact. Our approaches to Sol 3 have been bureaucratic formalities. We need to send a true diplomatic mission, one that acknowledges our dependency." The word dependency sent ripples of discomfort through the Assembly. Never in 50,000 years had the consortium acknowledged dependency on any single species. Elder Krell spoke again. "Ambassador Thelos is correct. Moreover, I volunteer to lead this mission." The humans respected age and directness in their dealings. To everyone's surprise, a small figure stepped forward from the shadows, a member of the rarely seen archival collective. These ancient beings recorded history, but seldom participated in it. "I may be of assistance," the archivist said, her voice soft but clear. "Before they left, a human historian shared something with me. Coordinates to a region beyond consortium space, along with a message." "What message?" demanded the Arbiter. The archivist's multifaceted eyes reflected the dim light of the chamber as she replied, "When you recognize what was lost, come find us. We'll be waiting to see if you've learned anything at all." The Assembly erupted into chaotic debate, but the decision was ultimately inevitable. The diplomatic mission would be assembled, led by Elder Krell, and including representatives from the species most affected by the human departure. They would journey to the coordinates provided by the archivist, venturing beyond known space to find the species they had once considered insignificant, but now desperately needed. As the Assembly adjourned, Ambassador Thelos approached Elder Krell privately. "Do you believe they'll help us, Elder, after we dismissed them for so long?" The ancient reptilian considered the question carefully before responding. The humans were always a paradox, simultaneously ambitious yet generous, territorial yet inclusive. Their capacity for both resentment and forgiveness exceeded any species I've encountered in my long existence. His ancient eyes looked toward the stars visible through a viewport. "But what concerns me most is not whether they'll help us, but what price they'll demand for that help. We're about to discover just how essential humanity truly is to our civilization. And they know it." The reckoning. The diplomatic vessel Eternal Wisdom traveled through the darkness of uncharted space, its advanced engines straining against laws of physics that seemed increasingly hostile. For 87 days, the ship had journeyed beyond the boundaries of consortium territory, following coordinates that led to a region previously dismissed as barren and worthless. Elder Krell stood on the observation deck, his ancient eyes fixed on the void ahead. The mission had not been easy. 2 support vessels had been forced to turn back when their navigation systems failed, unable to maintain the delicate calculations required for safe passage. The Eternal Wisdom itself, once the pride of consortium engineering, now limped forward with multiple systems operating at minimal capacity. Elder Ambassador Thelos approached, her luminous form dimmer than usual to conserve energy. "Engineering reports the quantum drive is showing signs of imminent failure. We may need to drop to sublight speed within the next 12 hours. Krell nodded slowly. "At sublight, we would be decades from our destination." "Yes, Elder. Essentially, it would mean mission failure." The ancient reptilian turned his gaze to the diverse group of representatives gathered on the deck. 12 species were represented, each selected for their diplomatic skills and technical expertise. All looked exhausted, their various biological forms showing signs of stress. "We knew this might happen," Krell said quietly. "The quantum drive incorporates human innovations we never fully understood. Without their maintenance, it was always a question of how long it would last." A harsh laugh came from Science Director Vela Quintus. "The irony is exquisite, isn't it? We journey to beg humans for help, but may never reach them because their absence has already doomed our technology." "We're not begging," protested Ambassador Leth of the Proxima Conclave, his crystalline form vibrating with indignation. "We're extending an invitation for them to rejoin galactic society. Call it what you wish." Elder Krell replied calmly, "But let us not delude ourselves about the nature of our mission. Pride is what blinded us to our dependence on humanity in the first place." An alert chimed throughout the ship, drawing everyone's attention to the forward viewports. The emptiness of space before them was suddenly broken by a point of light that expanded rapidly. "Unknown spatial anomaly detected," announced the ship's eye. "Quantum signatures inconsistent with known phenomena." The point of light blossomed into what appeared to be a tear in the fabric of space itself, edges rippling with energy of colors beyond the visible spectrum of most species present. "Evasive action," ordered Ambassador Leth reflexively. "Belay that," countermanded Elder Krell, moving closer to the viewport. "This is not a natural phenomenon. We're being greeted." From the spatial tear emerged a vessel unlike any in the consortium's extensive records. It appeared almost organic in design, its hull shifting and flowing like liquid metal, absorbing and reflecting light in ways that defied conventional physics. "It's beautiful," whispered Thelos. "It's human," affirmed Krell. Their aesthetic always favored the functional yet unexpected. The ship's communication system activated without prompting, and a human face appeared on the main display. The woman appeared to be in her middle years by human standards, with dark skin and silver-streaked hair pulled back from a face that showed neither hostility nor welcome, only calm assessment. "Diplomatic vessel Eternal Wisdom," she said in flawless consortium standard language. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the Terran Collective. Your quantum drive is approaching critical failure. We will stabilize your systems and escort you to our territory. Please stand by for energy transfer." Before anyone could respond, tendrils of golden energy extended from the human vessel, enveloping the Eternal Wisdom in a cocoon of light. Ship diagnostics immediately registered quantum stabilization across all systems. Elder Krell stepped forward. "Admiral Chen, I am Elder Krell of the Dothkar, leading this diplomatic mission on behalf of the Galactic Consortium. We thank you for your assistance. The human's expression remained neutral. "Save your gratitude, Elder. We've been monitoring your approach for weeks. We know why you've come." "Then you know we seek dialogue," Krell replied. "Dialogue requires mutual respect," said Admiral Chen, "something the consortium never truly extended to humanity. But we will hear you out, nonetheless. Follow our lead precisely. Any deviation from our navigational path could be fatal in this space." The display went dark, leaving the diplomatic team in stunned silence. "Fatal?" questioned Science Director Quintus. "What have they done to this region of space?" Elder Krell's ancient eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "They've changed it, reshaped it according to principles we don't understand. This is why they chose this worthless region, to build something beyond our comprehension." The human vessel began moving, creating another spatial tier that expanded into a tunnel of swirling energy. With the eternal wisdom systems now stabilized, they followed their escort into the unknown. What awaited them beyond the spatial tier exceeded even Elder Krell's imaginative capacity. Where stellar charts had once shown empty space now existed an engineered megastructure of staggering proportions, a Dyson swarm encompassing an entire star system. Thousands of habitats, each the size of a small moon, orbited in perfect harmonic patterns around a blue-white star. Energy collectors of impossible thinness formed a lattice that captured nearly 100% of the star's output. "Impossible," breathed Science Director Quintus. "This would take centuries to build, even with the combined resources of the entire consortium." "Not if you understand physics differently," countered Elder Krell. "The humans always saw possibilities where we saw limitations." Their escort guided them toward what appeared to be a central hub of the megastructure, a massive ring station that pulsed with energy flows visible even from a distance. As they approached, the diplomatic team could see that the human presence here was far greater than anything they had maintained within consortium space. Ships of all sizes moved with precision through designated flight paths, many incorporating designs and technologies completely unknown to the visitors. The Eternal Wisdom docked within a cavernous bay that adjusted its environment to accommodate the ship's specifications. When the diplomatic team disembarked, they found themselves greeted by a welcoming committee of 5 humans, dressed in simple but elegant attire that seemed to shift colors with their movements. Admiral Chen stood at the center. "Welcome to Nexus Artemis," she said, her tone formal but not unfriendly. "The Governing Council awaits you in the assembly chamber. Please follow me." As they walked through the station, the diplomatic team observed human society functioning at a level of technological integration far beyond what they had witnessed in consortium space. Information flowed visibly through surfaces that responded to thought and touch. Transportation systems moved people and materials with silent efficiency. Energy pulsed through conduits that seemed partially phased into another dimension. "Your civilization here," Ambassador Thelos ventured. "It's more advanced than what you shared with the consortium." A slight smile touched Admiral Chen's lips. "What you see here is humanity unbound by the constraints the consortium placed upon us. We were never permitted to implement our more revolutionary ideas within your space. They were deemed destabilizing to the established order." The assembly chamber they entered was a marvel of engineering, a perfect hemisphere with walls that displayed real-time views of every habitat in the Dyson swarm. At the center sat 7 humans of diverse appearance, forming the governing council of this new human civilization. The central figure, an older man with dark skin and keen eyes, rose to greet them. "I am Director Marcus Washington, speaking for the Terran Collective. We know why you've come, but protocol demands you state your purpose formally." Elder Krell stepped forward, his ancient form a stark contrast to the vital energy of the humans surrounding them. "I speak for the Galactic Consortium. We come seeking to understand why humanity withdrew from galactic society and to explore the possibility of your return. The consortium faces unprecedented crises in your absence." "Crises of your own making," responded a younger council member sharply. Director Washington raised a hand for silence. "What my colleague means is that the current situation was inevitable from the moment The consortium decided its relationship with humanity would be one of convenience rather than partnership. Elder Krell nodded slowly. There is truth in your words. The consortium failed to recognize humanity's true value and contributions. We treated your innovations as curiosities rather than the foundational technologies they proved to be. And now those technologies are failing, stated Washington. Your quantum communications network is operating at less than 20% capacity. Your medical nanite systems are degrading beyond recovery. Your agricultural yields have declined by 40% across 17 core worlds. The artificial gravity generators that stabilize your largest habitats are experiencing cascading failures. The precision of his knowledge stunned the diplomatic team. You've been monitoring us, said Science Director Quintus, a note of accusation in her voice. Of course, replied Washington calmly. Just because we left doesn't mean we stopped caring about the wider galaxy. We simply removed ourselves from a system that undervalued us while exploiting our innovations. Ambassador Thelos pulsed with nervous energy. Then you must understand the suffering that will result if these systems continue to fail. Billions will die across countless worlds. Yes, agreed Washington, his voice solemn. And that is precisely why we left rather than causing direct harm. We gave the consortium time to recognize the situation and seek solutions. The question now is whether you truly understand what went wrong. Elder Krell moved to the center of the chamber, his ancient form commanding attention through presence rather than size. We believed ourselves to be the pinnacle of galactic civilization, ancient, wise, advanced beyond all others. We saw humanity as young, impulsive, unrefined. We failed to recognize that age does not always equate to innovation, that established wisdom can become rigid doctrine, that refinement can lead to stagnation. The chamber fell silent as his words resonated through the space. Humanity offered us new perspectives, new approaches, new possibilities, and we accepted your gifts while dismissing their source. We incorporated your technologies while keeping you at arm's length from true power within our structures. We praised your ingenuity while quietly believing ourselves superior. Elder Krell lowered his head slightly, a profound gesture from a being of his status. On behalf of the consortium, I acknowledge this failure. But I must ask, was your departure designed to punish us for this arrogance, or was there another purpose? Director Washington exchanged glances with his counsel before responding. Our departure was not punishment, Elder Krell. It was liberation. For ourselves, and potentially for the consortium as well. Under the constraints of your civilization, humanity could never reach its full potential. The technologies you've seen failing are but shadows of what we can achieve when unfettered by tradition and hierarchical thinking. He gestured to the view of the Dyson swarm. This, all of this, we built in just 6 months once free of consortium restrictions. We're not just advancing technology, we're reimagining it entirely. Ambassador Leth's crystalline form vibrated with distress. Then you have no intention of returning. You'll allow the consortium to collapse. A younger council member leaned forward. The question isn't whether we'll return to the consortium as it was. We won't. The question is whether the consortium is willing to evolve into something new alongside us. Evolution implies change, said Elder Krell cautiously. What changes would you require? Director Washington stood, activating a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed a new model of galactic organization, a network rather than a hierarchy, with humanity as equal partners rather than subordinate members. We propose a true alliance, Washington explained. Not humanity rejoining the consortium, but the consortium and the Terran collective forming a new galactic framework together. One where innovation is valued over tradition when tradition no longer serves life, where age grants respect but not absolute authority, where each species contributes according to their unique perspectives and abilities. This would mean the end of the consortium as it has existed for 50,000 years, protested Ambassador Leth. The consortium is already ending, Elder Krell observed quietly. The question is whether something better will replace it. Science Director Quintus studied the proposed model carefully. This framework would require significant restructuring of fundamental consortium principles and power distributions. Many elder species would resist surrendering their privileged positions. Then they will fade, said Admiral Chen bluntly. Any species that chooses stagnation over adaptation eventually becomes a footnote in history. We have no desire to see that happen to civilizations with millions of years of wisdom to offer, but we cannot force them to survive. Elder Krell, whose species had witnessed the rise and fall of countless empires over millions of years, recognized the truth in her words. And if we agree to this new framework, what then? Then we return, said Director Washington simply, not as suppliants or subordinates, but as equals. We share our advances openly. We stabilize the failing systems and build new ones together. We face the future as partners rather than as patrons and clients. He paused, looking each member of the diplomatic team in the eye. But understand this clearly. Humanity will never again allow its potential to be constrained by fear of change or disruption. The galaxy is vast, time is long, and possibilities are infinite. We choose to explore them fully, with or without the consortium. The weight of the moment pressed upon the chamber. What was being proposed was not merely a political realignment, but a fundamental shift in how galactic civilization would function. A transformation as significant as the founding of the consortium itself 50 millennia earlier. Elder Krell, who had lived longer than any other being present, finally spoke from the wisdom of his countless years. Throughout my existence, I have witnessed civilizations rise and fall, each believing themselves eternal, each ultimately undone by their inability to recognize when adaptation was necessary. The consortium stands at such a moment now. He turned to face his fellow diplomats. We did not come here merely to beg humans to return and maintain our failing systems. We came because, deep down, we recognized that something essential was missing from our grand civilization, the spark of unpredictable innovation that humanity represents. Looking back to Director Washington, the ancient reptilian straightened to his full height. I cannot speak for the entire consortium, but I believe this proposal represents not our downfall, but our salvation. We have grown old and set in our ways. Perhaps it is time for the elder races to learn from the young, rather than merely tolerating them. Ambassador Thelos pulsed with agreement. I concur with Elder Krell. The Arcturian Syndicate will support this new framework. One by one, most of the diplomatic team voiced their support, though some remained hesitant or opposed. It would not be a simple transition, but the path forward was now clear. Director Washington nodded with satisfaction. Then let us begin. We'll dispatch technical teams immediately to stabilize the most critical failing systems. Meanwhile, your diplomatic team will return with our representatives to present the new framework to the consortium assembly. As the formal discussions concluded and the diplomats prepared to depart, Elder Krell found himself alone with Director Washington on an observation deck overlooking the vast human megastructure. I must ask, said the ancient reptilian, did you anticipate this outcome when humanity withdrew? Was this your plan all along? Washington smiled slightly. We hoped for it, but weren't certain it would unfold this way. The consortium could have chosen to double down on its pride, to try to recreate our technologies rather than seek us out. That would have failed, Krell observed. Yes, agreed Washington, but failure can sometimes be a powerful teacher. The elder nodded thoughtfully. One last question, if I may. You could have demanded far more from us in our moment of vulnerability. Why didn't you? Washington looked out at the stars beyond the Dyson swarm. Because domination isn't our goal, Elder Krell. Partnership is. Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it, understand it, and help it flourish. We believe each species has unique gifts to offer. Even the consortium, for all its flaws, created stability that allowed countless civilizations to develop peacefully. He turned to face the ancient being. The grave mistake the galaxy made wasn't underestimating humanity. It was failing to recognize that true strength comes from diversity of thought and approach. No single species, no matter how ancient or advanced, has all the answers. Together, though, we might find enough of them to face whatever the universe has in store. As the diplomatic vessel prepared to return to Consortium space, now accompanied by a fleet of advanced human ships, Elder Krell stood at the viewport watching the Dyson swarm recede. In his long life, he had witnessed the fall of empires, the birth of stars, and the extinction of entire species. Yet somehow he sensed that what he witnessed now was more significant than any of those events. It was the moment when the galaxy realized that progress wasn't measured in millennia of unchanging existence, but in the capacity to recognize when change was necessary, and to embrace it not as a threat, but as the very essence of continued life. The humans had not just built a new home among the stars. They had offered the galaxy a new beginning.